Welcome to The Mission Matters. The Mission Matters is a partnership of Missio Nexus and 1615 Missions Coaching, who have a shared passion to mobilize God's people to be a part of His mission. The Mission Matters is hosted by Matthew Ellison of 1615 Missions Coaching and Ted Esler, president of Missio Nexus. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Today features a conversation between Matthew, Ted, and Adegbite Olanihun, missionary and leader with the Nigerian Evangelical Missions Association, regarding the awakening, challenges, and opportunities of the Nigerian missions movement.
Welcome once again to the Mission Matters podcast. I'm Matthew Ellison, and I am joined by my good friend and co-host Ted Esler. Ted, greetings to you, brother.
Hey, Matthew. Good to see you. Good to be on the podcast.
Absolutely. Great to be with you again. We always like to start off with something light to get us going, and I was thinking about my favorite meal. So favorite meal as in the all-time favorite meal you've eaten. Not your favorite food, but the favorite meal. I hope that's what we're talking about here.
Yep.
So I have to say Thailand, summer of 94. Spent all summer in Thailand. I was a couple months in Bangkok, a couple of months in Chiang Mai. And in Chiang Mai, there was a street vendor, this old lady, this old Thai woman. She had an oil drum that had been converted to a wok, and she would make a noodle dish. I don't want to call it pad thai. That's the ubiquitous, Thai food that's around the country. This was far superior to pad thai. But when she would set up, the line would build, and it was guys in suits. It was, people who lived on the streets. Everyone wanted her noodle dish, and it just stands out in my mind, the sights, the sounds, the smells. I was doing gospel ministry. Man, that was my favorite meal. How about you?
Okay, well, for me, this is always an easy question for me, because when we were first moving from Croatia into Bosnia, as we were starting our new Bosnian ministry, we drove down, and it was a time when the Dayton Peace Accord had just been signed, and bridges were blown up everywhere, and temporary pontoon bridges as we went down. And about halfway down, we pulled over, and we were basically in the shadows of a huge bombed out factory. So my wife and I, we had a nanny and my coworker, Gary Levi, and we had two vehicles, and we pulled over together, and we broke out the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And I remember sitting there with my kids all playing and hanging out there, and it was just, we were on the adventure finally. The thing we'd prayed for to come to pass, it finally came to pass. And that was the best meal ever. Very simple food, but it was the setting that made it. So today on the podcast, we're going to have Ade. He's going to introduce himself in just a second. But Ade, is there a particular meal that stands out in your mind that you've had that is the most memorable meal that you can think of?
Thank you, Ted. How are you?
I'm good.
Talking of a favorite meal, I think what easily comes to my mind is the Arabian meal I had in the desert of Dubai.
Wow.
It's an evening Arabian meal in an Arabian setting. We sat around the mat. And there are all manners of meals. Mutton, unleavened bread with some spices. And I tell you, it was fun. Like you said, the setting, the company was something else for me. I think it's quite a memorable meal I've actually had, and I will remember it for a long time to come.
It's probably not fair, Matthew, to always to ask that question with missionaries on the call, because you're going to get answers from all around the world. So
that's so true.
Sure.
Well, Ade, could you start by telling us now? I've met Ade through the Nigerian Evangelical Missions Association, which we call NEMA. Could you tell us who you are and what you do with NEMA?
Oh, thank you. My name is Adegbite Olanihun. I'm a Nigerian, but my friends call me Ade for short. I'm a missionary, and I work with the Nigerian Evangelical Missions Association. I serve as the head of the finance and administration of the network. NEMA, the Nigerian Missions Network, the collaboration of over 150 missions organizations in Nigeria committed to taking the gospel across cultures, both among the unreached people group in Nigeria and globally. Mm-hmm. And it's a wonderful network that involves church-based mission organizations, para-church organizations, youth organizations, and several others taking the gospel to several places around the world. At the last count, NEMA has more than 15,000 missionaries that are committed to the 150 agencies involved with NEMA. And NEMA missionaries, Nigerian missionaries, are found in 192 countries across the world, serving the Lord and laboring to establish the glory of God across the nations of the world.
Wow.
So Ade, as you answer that question, you may have already answered the question I'm going to ask you now, but we had a guest on a few months ago, and he talked about how many African countries are moving from missions fields to missions forces. And maybe you could give us an idea about the potential of the Nigerian missions movement. What do you think it is?
God is at work in Nigeria, Africa. Incidentally, it will interest you to know by population, Africa is the most Christianized continent. The largest population of Christians, largest on the African continent as of today. And God is at work. We are seeing churches coming up, great and big congregation churches coming up, across Africa, especially Nigeria. For example, I think, if I'm not wrong, the largest congregation of Christians in the world are in Nigeria. I think there are many congregations in Nigeria today that are about 10,000, 50,000. I think the largest church auditorium in the world, being 100,000 seated capacity auditorium, is in Nigeria. So there's a huge potential in the Nigerian church, populated with young people that are spirit-filled and so passionate and so willing to actually give themselves fully to the Lord. So I quite agree with you when you talk about the fact that there is a huge movement and a huge move of God in the in the church in Africa, especially in Nigeria.
Do you think, take the agencies, for example, that are with NEMA, are they using a missionary agency model, or are they using a business as mission model? What's the most common method of missionary sending in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you very much. Traditionally, from where indigenous mission started in Nigeria, it is the model of the missionary sending, going by faith. And to the glory of God, I can confirm that many Nigerian missionaries have gone out to do great things on the frontiers with little or minimal support. But as time goes on, I think the Nigerian missions is also developing with current trends in global missions. While we still have the traditional model of mission agency sending, we now have an increased awareness and buy-in from mainline denominational churches sending missionaries. And also, we also have several Nigerian missionaries across the world that are using business as models, business as missions. In fact, there are a lot of young Nigerians in different parts of the world that are making a difference for the Lord, shining the light of the gospel as businessmen or professionals in different fields across the world. So we have all the models present, among Nigerian missionaries. Basically, what we do is this: when we plan to engage a community or a nation, we try to look at which of the model is best that can be, adopted, and we go for that.
Yeah. I'd be curious, just one more follow-up on questions related to that. Do you have any idea of so you talked about 15,000 missionaries. how many of those are staying inside Nigeria and reaching unreached people groups in Nigeria, and how many are going outside of Nigeria?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy that you are aware of the Vision 5015 of the Nigerian church. It's a vision that has been on for 15 years now. In fact, this year makes it 15 years of the vision. And the vision is basically with the knowledge of the huge and enormous potential of the Nigerian church, more than 40 million evangelicals in Nigeria, which are a great asset for the gospel. The vision is to mobilize 50,000 of those evangelicals, and among those 50,000, to send 15,000 to raise support and send 15,000 of those to 34 highly Islamic dominated countries in the world, starting from northern Nigeria to the North Africa, Horn of Africa, Arab Peninsula, and the Jerusalem neighborhood. What I can conveniently tell you is this, that at least of that 15,000 we were 13, 14, 15 years ago, we, in our network, I can conveniently tell you that we have 4,000 Nigerian missionaries that are responding to this call in all regions I mentioned. Mm-hmm. Now, that is also to say, that there are several other missionaries that are not the Nigerian Mission Network under NEMA that are just, gone to those countries, either as professionals, as businessmen, and are doing great, in those places. But from our record and in our network, I can report to you that we have 4,000 Nigerian missionaries of the 15,000 Nigerian, under the network of NEMA that are working in those regions.
Awesome.
Ade, maybe you could share with our viewing and listening audience some of the challenges are facing the Nigerian missions movement as these people are raised up. What are some of the obstacles that they're facing?
Thank you. In spite of the huge and enormous potential of the Nigerian church and the Nigerian mission first, we are not without our challenges. In recent times, we have had to face the challenge of recruitment. That may not be unconnected to probably the state of the church in Nigeria. More and more young people, we are having it more challenging to actually have them be conscripted into the mission force. But in spite of that, efforts are being made to deliberately reach out to the young people. Another challenge we are facing in the Nigerian mission force is the challenge of security as a result of the Boko Haram insurgents and violent attacks on Christian communities. Since the beginning of Boko Haram, we have unfortunately lost many missionaries, and many have had to pull out from that region. And another growing violent challenge we are having is the challenge of herdsmen attacking Christian communities and missionaries. Since the beginning of the year, we have had to grapple with a lot of challenge of kidnapping of missionaries, the challenge of attacking missionaries at the base. One of our leading mission leaders was attacked, a few months ago at his base in the mission field where he was working. And it was so fatal, but we thank God it was spared. So these are some of the challenges we are confronted with in the missions movement in Nigeria.
So currently, the Boko Haram is growing in influence. Is it? I know that the government's trying to stop it. What's the current status?
The Boko Haram situation in Nigeria is dicey. At one time, the government will tell us that it's been brought under control. At other times, we hear the stories of Boko Haram overrunning communities. Unfortunately, we have had to lose quite a number of missionaries and church leaders to the insurgents. Painfully, earlier this year, a church leader in the northeast region, where Boko Haram has great influence, was kidnapped, and he was, slaughtered alive. Under the full glare of camera. With the Boko Haram insurgent. Carrying out that heinous crime. Terrible thing. But the joy of it is this. The opportunity given to the leader to actually address. To give an address. He preached to the Boko Haram insurgents and spoke very courageously before that happened. Government is making efforts, but unfortunately, I guess the challenge of poverty and porous border is making Boko Haram to be very challenging to be controlled in Nigeria. Boko Haram has now merged with the Islamic State in West Africa. So they have a large network across West Africa. And of course, the crisis in Libya has also released a lot of militia into the region, and many of them have good cover in northeast Nigeria. So it's a very serious challenge. Many of the places where we had missionaries, we have had opportunity to actually minister in the past. Christians could not even go there again, talk less of sharing the gospel, because they are all taken over by Boko Haram.
So Ade, as we hear about the opportunities, but also some incredible challenges, how might U.S. and Canadian churches come alongside and assist the Nigerian missions movement in a way that's a blessing and not a hindrance?
Oh, thank you very much. Before I respond to that, I also want to mention the fact that in spite of the challenges, God is at work in Nigerian mission movement, especially in Nigeria and beyond. It will interest you to know that in spite of the challenge of the COVID-19, we have made great stride in the Nigerian mission movement. The Northeast, where Boko Haram is concentrated, God has given us a very great inroad. There is a state in the Northeast that is by the name Bauchi State. That's the state with the highest number of unreached people group in Nigeria. Through our effort, we're able to identify those unreached people group. And to the glory of God, a lot of missionaries have been moved into a number of those unreached people group, during the pandemic and, this year. And also, there is one of the unengaged unreached people group for many years have not been engaged by the tribe, a tribe in Northeast Nigeria also were able to actually mobilize and send missionaries to that particular tribe. Now, responding to your question on how the American and Canadian mission movement can be of help to Nigeria. An average Nigerian missionary is a passionate, aggressive, with a can-do spirit missionary, willing to go anywhere for the Lord. But I think we still need some assistance in issues of training and equipping. I think training for missionaries will go a long way to help our effectiveness in Nigeria. And I think that's one of the areas that the American and the Canadian movement can actually be of help. Equipping also. I have had opportunity of being part of the the online sessions of Mission Nexus. And I tell you, I've been tremendously blessed. And I believe there is a lot we can learn from your hand to actually help strengthen what we do here in Nigeria.
Fantastic. Well, Ade, I want you to know that we do pray for you. We do think about what's going on in Nigeria. I personally feel like Nigeria is going to be one of the most important countries for global missions in the years and decades ahead. So it's very exciting, especially with the demographic changes in Africa. And so I really want to thank you and for what NEMA is doing there.
Thank you, Ted. We really appreciate it. And I tell you, we need all the prayers. Just to also mention that prayer is actually our primary and number one need. Beyond any other need. Okay. God is at work in Nigeria in spite of the challenge. We believe with your prayers and encouragement, we shall surely take our place in His will. Thank you very much. It's so happy to hear that you are praying for us.
Okay, so before you go, could we get a good prayer request from you that our listeners can be praying for?
Thank you. Please pray for encouragement for Nigerian missionaries. The pandemic has actually impacted upon the Nigerian mission movement. Many are discouraged. In fact, in the course of the pandemic, we have had to take some initiative to mobilize some resources to mitigate the economic impact for frontline missionaries. And because of the downturn in economy and some other challenges, there seems to be a general discouragement in the land among the mission movement. So we need your prayers for God to encourage us to forge on and not be discouraged. And also, we'd like you to pray for the security challenge in Nigeria, the Boko Haram challenge, and the the herdsmen challenge is, insurgent in Nigeria. Many missionaries have had to flee their base, their station, because of such attacks. Several others have had to actually pay the ultimate price because of the challenge, the violent attack on our bases. So we need your prayers in these two key areas. And also for great vision, fresh vision and strength from on high, even as we make effort to play a role in God's global agenda.
So I'm thinking of a verse that Paul shared in 2 Corinthians. May the grace of God abound to you, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you may abound in every good work. And so for our viewers and listeners, let that be your prayer.
Amen.
That God's grace would abound, that in the midst of this trying time and a time of opportunity, as you said, Ade, that God's grace would overflow and that the work of the gospel would abound in and through the Nigerian church. That's going to be our prayer.
Amen.
Hey, thank you. You've been a blessing to us today. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for being
Ted,
Thank you very much.
Ted, you're going to say something?
I was just going to say thanks for being with us, Ade.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you, brother. You're an encouragement. So, Ted, this is the time.
Thank you very much.
Yes, brother. This is the time in the show
My
where
pleasure.
we talk about something you like, Ted. So what's on the list today?
Okay, well, this is something I have a feeling some of our listeners know about, but I'm always amazed when I find particularly people in the missions community that are not aware of it, and it's Prayercast, prayercast.com. It is a website and a service in which they create high-quality videos that are about praying. The prayers are always said by indigenous people. And they, for example, we've been talking about Nigeria today, and you can go to prayercast.com. You can look up the nation of Nigeria, and they have a very powerful prayer that you can use to pray for the nation of Nigeria. There's an Islamic series out there that's incredible. There's numerous special topics. The most recently posted COVID video I just found to be just another stunning example that just inspires me to pray. And so I just want to mention Prayercast as something I really like.
And I second that. It's a great resource, so please take advantage of it, folks. Again, Ade, thank you. Ted, great to be with you. We'll see you next time, folks.
All right, bye.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful time. Thanks, Ted, for the privilege. Thanks, Matthew, too. I quite appreciate this.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Ade.
Before you go, would you visit our sponsors' websites? There, you'll find a wealth of interesting and challenging information about the state of the Great Commission. It's 1615.org and missionexus.org. If you enjoyed today's episode, like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss one. The Mission Matters is presented through a partnership of 1615 Missions Coaching and Missio Nexus.